Hey. Time for another out of this world story from our space. I've been dealing with this frustrating nuisance for about 3 years now, with no resolution in sight. I can't start repairing my relationship if I don't know the whole story. My 30 female, 37 male girlfriend of 7 years at the time just had our first baby boy on November 13th, 2018, via C-section. Around January 3rd, I told her that my mom, Carolyn, needed help bartending at our bar that we own. She was hesitant about it, but I pushed for it, thinking it would be good for her to change the scenery, talk to people, put some cash in her pocket, just breathe a little. This is what happened. She gets home from work around 3:30ish a.m. I'm already up because the baby needed to eat around 2ish. Not even 5 minutes from walking in, she was already blowing me in the bathroom, the kitchen, and then we screwed back in her room. Next morning, she gets a call from her mom that she drove by and saw our car lights still on. Girlfriend goes out to turn them off and doesn't come back for a good 15 minutes. It takes 2 seconds to get to our vehicle. I hear the driver door, the passenger door, both back doors, and the trunk open and close. She comes back in and tells me that she gave someone a ride last night. I thought to myself, okay, why is she randomly telling me this? I asked her, why are you saying this to me? Oh, because his cell phone and jacket are in the car. Said, okay, and we both passed out again. Woke up, did some crap around the house, then I remembered why she told me. I also had to go over to my mom's place. Up in the Benz, and noticed that the passenger seat was fully inclined. What the F is this crap? Got to my mom's, and my stepdad hopped in and immediately cracked a joke. Sarah doesn't sit like this, or you've been screwing in this seat. I blew him off and kinda ignored him. Fast track back to the house. I pull up, get out, and start looking for that fool's crap. Girlfriend turned his cell phone off and put his crap in a bag of loose beer that I forgot that I had in the truck. I didn't mind her doing this. I was like, whatever, at first. A week or so goes by, and something made me ask more questions about that night. I asked if they exchanged phone numbers and if they sent texts to one another. Keep in mind, I had a pretty big harvest that season, so I asked her if she could try and find people to buy her bud. Back to asking her about numbers, texting, and crap. She tells me she wasn't texting him that night. She seems pretty baffled. And my gut was saying something was up. So I checked the phone bill, and sure enough, bam, text messages were sent. Why lie about that? I asked her to find people to buy her bud. When I said something about it, her answer was she thought I would get mad. What the F? Get mad for asking people to buy her bud? This is starting to get not so honest. This is what she told me. She gets to the bar and sees Desiree and Megan, co-workers. Desiree just got off and is smashed, and Mayhem was buying the bar. My girlfriend started taking shots with everyone about an hour and a half into her shift, 8 to close. Desiree calls her boyfriend to pick her up. He shows up with his cousin Ryan. Desiree introduces my girlfriend to them as, "This is Allison. Carolyn is her mother-in-law." Girlfriend asked what they wanted and served them. Ryan started buying shots for the 5 of them. Desiree started to whine that she wanted to go home and screw. Ryan helps his cousin bring Desiree to his car. Ryan then runs back in and asks my girlfriend if she could take him to Desiree's when she gets off work. She told him, sure, since Ryan was the cousin of Desiree's boyfriend. Fast track to taking Ryan to Desiree's. They stop at 7-Eleven for coffee, and it turns out Ryan didn't know where Desiree even lived, just a general idea, and Ryan thought Allie knew, so no one knew anything. Now I'm like, what the F? So what do? I go to the bar and watch the video feed. We have 1 camera outside and a few inside. I didn't have the patience to watch everything, so I fast forward until I saw commotion or whatever. This fool was following my girlfriend everywhere she went, like a little dog, and she tells me she didn't know he liked her like that. Please. I read that when someone cheats on their significant other, it sparks up their sex drive for a little, then it would go back to normal levels. I feel that's what happened with her. She was giving me BJs right when I got home from work, sex every single day. I ask her what's up with this, and she says that she took me for granted. Sex every day lasted for months. Right after all this happened, we were coming home from a Mexican restaurant. It was raining a little, as she hopped on the hood of the car, and I started screwing her. At the same time, I was thinking, is this what her and Ryan did that night? Because this was the first time for me doing this with her. A little time has gone by, and still nothing from her. She's going to take this to her grave. I then started thinking of ways to handle this my way. And one way that almost happened. I had the people in the car, driving to Ryan's place to grab him, take him to my buddy's storage unit, and beat the crap out of him. I felt they would stop playing his stupid games and tell what happened that night. Ended up not doing it. I was livid, because I knew this would have worked. At the same time, my newborn wouldn't have a father if I ended up in jail for this dumb-ass crap. I never knew my father and didn't want my son to experience the same thing. Since it didn't happen and my family's bar was right there, we went there and drank ourselves stupid the rest of the night. Drinks were on me for wasting their time and having them get pumped up for nothing. I wrote an awareness letter about Ryan and taped it to every single door in his apartment complex and emailed it to any family member whose email I found and any friends, even associates. This is what it said. Also, the letter sounds like Allie wrote it. She didn't. I did. Just wanted to make things clear with all of you. I believe you know a person by the name of Ryan Clemens lives in apartment 118. This emotional, sexual predator took advantage of me while I was intoxicated. He manipulated me, thinking he needed a ride to a woman's house after I got off work. That was not the case. He had a completely different agenda. He only wanted to get me alone while being completely intoxicated and vulnerable. I blacked out and came to while I was parking back at my work. Ryan was still with me. He came back to the bar and I pretty much slammed the door in his face when he was expecting to be let inside. The bar was closed. His motive was to sexually assault me, which in turn ruined my whole life. I lost my relationship of 6 years at the time, and not to mention, I had just had a baby and was still recovering from a C-section. He doesn't have a good heart and wants to be in full subjection. I'm sending this message for awareness so the people that are close to him know this nefarious side of him and stay vigilant and cautious. He lives in apartment 118. The whole point to writing this is to see if anyone has been in this kind of situation, where it clearly points to you cheating, but you actually didn't. Personally, there are way too many things that went on for me to brush off and give her the benefit of the doubt. In the beginning, I did. Been dating for 7 years, and nothing like this has happened. I was in a relationship where we never had to worry about any jealousy problems. What went on that night was definitely not so innocent like she says it was. She also told me, if anything did happen, and I know myself, and know nothing happened, I didn't give consent. This argument just goes in circles. I was finally able to have her message some of the chicks that were there that night. This is what happened in Basic Messenger. From my girlfriend. Hey Desiree, hope you're doing well. I know you're busy, but I was wondering if you could help me out with something. I don't know how much you remember about the night you and I saw each other last, but Jason and I have kind of been on the rocks since then, so I was hoping maybe you could help me fill in a couple blanks. I was trying to be nice and stupidly agreed to give that guy Ryan a ride to your place, but then he didn't even know where you lived. After that, I don't remember much. And Ryan has made it sound like him and I hooked up. I strongly feel like that didn't happen, but I don't know for sure, and I was wondering if you had heard anything. I know you have a lot going on, but any information would help. Thanks in advance. From Desiree. You guys didn't hook up. Macon, me, and Ryan all spoke a couple days after. Macon was hanging out with me. Ryan was trying to get to him, but you ended up taking him home that night. Nothing happened with you two. I only asked because I have asked him, and he was being vague, and then he was texting Jason, making it seem like we did stuff. I don't remember taking him home. I thought he came back to the bar with me. From my understand, that didn't happen. You were being nice and gave him a ride home. That's it. Thanks, Des. I appreciate the help. Hope you're doing well. You too. 4 days later, I had her write something else. Hey, Des. Sorry to bother you with this again, but this whole thing has really been hard for me. Putting myself in a position like that is just really out of character for me. So I'm really struggling with the fact that not only do I not have answers for Jason, but I myself don't even know what actually happened. I'm sorry for involving you, but you're the only one giving me answers. After thinking about our conversation yesterday, at first I felt relieved, but then I started to feel uneasy because you said that I dropped him at his house, but when I got back to the bar that night, I distinctly remember him being there and trying to follow me inside the bar after we had already closed. I told Miken's boyfriend Cody not to let him in, and he had him go check outside to make sure he was gone before I went home. So I'm just really confused, and it's really hard on me and put a huge strain on my relationship with Jason. I'm really ashamed of myself for not only being that drunk and putting myself in that position, but also for hurting Jason. We're trying to work through this, but it's really hard when I don't have all the information, and then the information I'm getting isn't matching up with what I can remember happening. We're raising our son and trying to be a happy family, but as much as I believe I would never do that to him, moving on is really unrealistic when I can't definitively say I cheated on him or not. Any pieces you can put in place for me would be helpful and appreciated. Any little detail, even if it seems like it's completely useless. Thanks again. Feel free to call or text me if it's easier for you. Number. I don't know anything that happened when I left besides what was told to me. Sorry I came to her help, but I really don't know. I wasn't there for anything after. I also asked her to write down everything that happened that night, from the time she got to the bar till the time she got home. This is what she wrote. It's pretty half-ass. She's a much better writer than this jug. I parked in the back and walked into the bar. Megan was behind the bar and Desiree was sitting at the bar talking to another customer and drinking wine. I said hi to both of them and chatted. I asked Megan a couple of questions about procedure. That took a bit while. After Megan asked if I wanted a drink, and I told her sure, I'd have whatever she was having, which was tequila. So we took a shot, and shortly after another. This time included Desiree. From then on, I'm not sure how often we were taking shots, but it seemed like every half hour. Seems like a lot, but I feel like I drank a crapload that night. Too much. I played a game of pool with Megan, and after the game was over, Desiree and I were talking about how she got a new job. Then we started talking about Dean and you and Bunny. After a while, I saw people walking into the bar, and I went behind the bar to serve them because Megan was off doing whatever. I think playing pool. The people who walked into the bar turned out to be Megan and Ryan. They said hi to Desiree, and I greeted them and asked them what they were having to drink. I don't remember what they ordered. Desiree was introducing me to Megan, and he's like, yeah, I've met you before. And I was like, yeah, you're the barbecue guy. Desiree was like, this is Carolyn's daughter-in-law, and he said something along the lines, I remember, and asked how I was doing. I told him I was good, that we had just had a baby, and then I was showing him and Ryan pictures and asked if either of them would be interested in purchasing weed. Ryan said possibly, and I told him I would be there Thursday at the same time, and he said that he didn't go there that often, but I should give him my number so he could call me if he needs anything. That's when I went to have a cigarette, and when Desiree came to, so did Megan and Ryan. While outside, Ryan went to a white car that was parked out front and got a jacket. He offered it to me by trying to put it over my shoulders. I said something like, oh no, it's okay, I'm good, thank you though. And when he tried again, I responded with, no, it's really okay. I don't remember how many times he tried, but when he kept insisting and I started to get frustrated and a little embarrassed, I just said to myself, whatever, and I left it on my shoulders, and almost immediately, I put my cigarette out and went back inside. When I went inside, I took to check it off and draped it over the back of the chair he was sitting at. At that time, it was getting to be a bit more busy. When I was inside, I took the customers because I wanted to learn. I helped everyone unless they asked for Megan. I helped this one guy, who I guess is a regular, because every time I've worked, he's been there. So I just said hi and asked him how he was. And when he asked me the same, of course, I told him that we had a baby. He said congrats, and that was it. This one couple was older, and I talked with them for a while. I can't remember about what, only that they asked what was wrong with Megan because she never smiled and she was so mopey. They said that they were glad that they had hired a different bartender because they thought Megan was mean and not a very fun person. I told them that they were wrong about Megan. They had just had to give her a chance. Desiree put music on the jukebox and she turned it up so it was loud. Like, can't hear herself think loud. This woman came in, and she was loud and obnoxious. She had long blonde hair and was dressed in men's clothes. I went to try and help her with my usual, hey there, what can I get you for tonight? And she was super rude to me. She said something like, oh, honey, don't try that crap with me. You can't come over here and act sweet and stick your boobs out. I have boobs. I don't care about boobs. That's what she lifted her shirt up and flashed her boobs. Megan called her by her name and told her to leave me alone. She got her a beer, and then the woman put some music on to play after Desiree's songs played. She complained about the music loudly. I saw Desiree get up and put more songs on, and apparently she played so the jukebox would skip her music, because the next song that came on, she started freaking out and screaming, F you! You freaking skipped my songs. And Desiree was like, whatever, witch. And Megan was like trying to get her to chill out because she was really drunk. So I tried to give her money back, and she's like, F you, bitch. I want to hear my songs, and I don't want money. You going to let that B word just change my crap? And I told her there was nothing I can do except give her the money back, and she could put them on again. And she's like, screw that, you're gonna skip it. F this place, and F all you guys. And she left. But this time, Desiree was so drunk, she was falling off the bar stool and slurring her words. She was obliterated. Desiree was like crying, whining, saying that she wanted to go home and that she needed her keys. I saw Megan collecting her bag and stuff, so I went to talk to her and make sure she was okay and that she knew what was going on. I offered to take her home, and she said she was fine and that she wanted Megan to take her home. I gave her a hug and told her to feel better, and they started walking out. Ryan ran after them and then came to me and asked if I could give him a ride to Desiree's later. So I said, okay, that's fine, and then turned around and left. There's a couple of things that I'm struggling to piece into the timeline. The other person I remember was the drunk guy who walked into the bar. He was so obviously drunk. I have no idea where he came from because he walked in that drunk and he tried to order something. And I'm like, how about some water? And he goes to leave. And I'm like, dude, he's leaving. And Megan's like, go grab his keys and call him a cab. For some reason, I remember feeling bad for him for being that drunk, and I wanted to help him, and also feel like Megan was irritated by that. I remember her handing me the phone and being like, here, call him a cab if you want. The number's right there. So I run around, and I'm like, hey, hold on. And he's like wobbling and couldn't stand up. So he puts his arm around me, and I'm like, hey, dude, you look super shit-faced. I can't let you leave. I'm going to take your keys. And he starts getting like agitated. And I'm like, don't worry, just chill here and I'll call you a cab to get you home safe. At that point, he's like, oh, you're a beautiful angel. Thank you so much. And he kissed me on the cheek. And I was like, okay, well, you're welcome. Let me go call you a cab. And he goes to kiss me again. And I'm like, here, sit right here. And I just sat him down on the stage and went and called him a cab. I don't know when I went back and smoked with Kenny. We were just chilling, and then Ryan came out, and I was smoking a cigarette Kenny gave me. And I was almost done, so I stood up, and Kenny left, and there was someone else standing across from me. And I can't remember who it was, but it was someone that I knew from the bar because I remember them talking to me a little bit, and then I finished and went back inside. After all this, I remember at one point Ryan buying more shots, and I told Megan just give me water in mine, because I was done. I didn't want to drink anymore. My internal clock was telling me it was late and it was almost time to go home. And I knew I was really drunk and maybe shouldn't be driving. So I drank the shot, watered, and just started drinking more water. Megan and I started closing, and I remember her giving me the money to put in the back, and she told me where to put it. I can't remember what she said to me. And then locked the door to the supply area, and then to lock the front. So when I came back from locking the front, was when I got his attention and told him, let's go. So he walks to the back and I told Megan I'm going to take him to Desiree's. I'll be right back and I'll do whatever's left. And she was like, okay, we'll probably be done, but we will be here. So come back so I know you're okay. Looking back, I don't know why. I think Megan didn't really care for me, considering she seemed annoyed with me a lot and then went out of her way to make it seem like I was all over this dude when I know for a fact I was not. So I went out back. We walked to the car, got in. I was trying to find music to put on, and he was like, where's the seat thingy? And I was like, right there by your feet. And then we started driving, and he's like, can we stop at 7-Eleven? I'll buy you cigarettes or something, or I'll give you gas for giving me a ride. I declined, and then I was like, you know what? I definitely need some coffee and a snack or something. So we went in, I got coffee and a sugar cookie popcorn, and he paid, and I grabbed the stuff off the counter, and after it was ring up, and I walked to the car, and then we left. And I was like, okay, so where's Desiree's? And he's like, I don't know. I thought you knew. And I was like, are you serious? And then he started calling Megan and Desiree. And I was like, okay, come on, dude. And he's like, I think she lives somewhere behind here. Then I just start going to the street behind 7-Eleven, and I'm like, I'm just going to head this way because my boyfriend took her home once, and he told me that she lives on the street behind 7-Eleven. I'm like, okay, we can check here, but if you can't find it, we're going back. So we drive down the street slowly and then turn around and I ask him, "What are you looking for? How are you going to know which is hers?" And he said, "She drives a blue car." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't see a blue car." And he's like, "Well, I didn't look in the driveway." And so at this point, I'm like, "Okay, this is getting stupid." And I start making a joke at his expense, like, "Really? Okay, let's stop at every house so you get a good look and be sure." So at every house, I stop, even kind of short at times. And I'm like, "Okay, no blue car there." And when I reach the end of the street, I'm like, "Okay, I'm going back to the bar." And he asked if I can just pull over for a second. You give him a few minutes to call back and try to call again. And I'm like, "Okay, but this is it. After this, I'm going back to the bar." Obviously, he doesn't get through to anyone. And I remember pulling up to Mason, whatever street the 7-Eleven is on, to turn right and go back to the bar. And the next memory after that is me starting to get out of the car behind the bar. I was walking to the back door, and there's like coast behind me. And I remember thinking, "Okay, what are you doing? Go away now." So I knocked at the door, and Cody opened the back door a little to see who it was. And I'm like, "Hey," and slid in the door. And I shook my head and made a throat slash gesture to make it clear to him that I did not want him in there anymore. So Cody was like, "No, dude, we're closed," and shut the door on him. I was like, "Thank you," and started to explain to Megan how annoyed I was and how ridiculous that was. Then I get extra annoyed because I'm like, "Okay, I really want to go home now, and I feel like I need to wait a minute to make sure this fool isn't out there waiting for me." So, after like 5 minutes, I'm like, "Okay, I need to get out of here or I'm going to fall asleep." So Cody goes and makes sure the coast is clear, and then I get in the car and I drive home. The end. Again, I'm not sure if it's chronologically accurate, but this is the best I could do. P.S. After reading this, I'm like, why didn't I just call him a cat too? P.P.S. Also, after reading this, I feel really dumb and naive for not realizing how shady this was in the moment. I'm almost certain that I can attribute that to the alcohol. Almost. For me watching the video and other things that I discussed with her, this is a list of pretty much all the key points that happened. Lied about talking to Ryan, asked if he talked to anybody about selling weed. You said no, maybe Cody's dad, Kenny, will buy some. Lied about deleting his text messages. You said he never sent you a text. Never mentioned him putting his jacket over your shoulder multiple times. Told me he did that once, but you kept telling him no, you're fine. Him resting his hands on your shoulders. You didn't remember this. Never mentioned smoking weed with him. You didn't even tell me you got high. You putting your hand on his leg as you walk away. Getting ready to take him to Desiree's. Bar was past last call. No reason to be touching him when you can't buy him more drinks. Didn't text me back when asked how everything's going. You had a chance when you and Ryan got into the car. Didn't mention anything to Megan about Ryan not knowing where Desiree lived. Came back to the bar from the opposite direction from Desiree's. Turns out, Ryan lived 2 blocks from the bar. Left with no jacket, but came back with his on. Why put his jacket on when you're dropping him off in 5 minutes and you could have turned on the car's heater? 15 to 20 minutes, you can't remember what happened with Ryan in the car. You never dropped him off anywhere. He came back to the bar with you. Got upset when I wanted to put his jacket in the trash. I still did. Passenger car seat was fully reclined. Left his cell phone in the car. Lied about your car ride with Ryan. Told me you gave someone a ride to Desiree's and you went straight back to the bar. Didn't tell Megan you were dropping Ryan off. You just left when Megan was in the bathroom. Why would Ryan want to be dropped off at Desiree's when you knew his cousin went with her to screw and how late it was when he lives 2 blocks from the bar? Ryan saying he had an amazing night with you. Why would he say this if you weren't really talking to him? What made it so amazing? So yeah, this all started in 2019. What do you Redditors think went down? First reaction from For Real Why 65. She cheated on you. She knows it. Abbreviations Old 5833 says, your post was vast and elaborate. This is what I concluded based on the details provided. Your girlfriend was toxicated, but she could drive and drop, so not so drunk. She was basically almost sober, but tipsy. People do get blackouts and don't seem to remember things precisely. I have friends who didn't REM properly for 2 days and would distort even the most innocent of incidents. This includes me too when I wouldn't remember things coherently. Your girlfriend or fiance has so much to lose. You, her son's stability, her job, her friends, her reputation. for a job, and obviously the comfort of family. As you have noticed yourself, Ryan was puppying around her, so it seems he was into her and she definitely liked the attention. Everyone does, but it all depends on how you act on it. Most of the people you contacted had not much details, or they didn't care that something unethical happened. I will tell you what could have happened unless she did self-sabotage out of a family. Things happened just the way it happened. She dropped him at the bar, but Ryan reached home regardless. So Desiree thought that she must have dropped home. And finally, about the immediate sex part, she must have got hot and heavy around Ryan, not necessarily for him, but just aroused. Thus, she came on to you immediately. I don't see why she could sabotage her life so casually and not be caught. She knows that she will be eventually found out and lose it all. Or, she was so aroused, she met out with him, some fondling happened, and then she stopped when she sobered down. You need to ask more by yourself than her doing on your behalf too. Find Ryan and coerce out the truth without breaking obvious laws.